Do you have a book in you? So let me ask you this. Do you have a purpose in life? Do you have a message that you want to leave to your great-great-grandchildren someday? One of the cool things about me sharing podcasts and doing things, and one of the motivating factors for me is always 100% to help and serve other people. Because it's not easy every week to have to sit down and produce, but all I do is take my life experiences and what I'm learning and try to share it with anyone who wants to listen, because it's not for everybody. I get it. But the cool thought process of my great-great-great-grandchildren someday, who I'll never physically meet, will sit and watch this someday or listen to it and say, wow, that was my great-great-great-grandfather. And he's part of my whole bloodstream system. And, to me, that's cool to give them perspective. And maybe I could say one thing to one of them that I wasn't going to be around for, but they could hear a message that's not going to impact them. The legacy 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 freaking years from now is pretty cool. So, a lot of things you end up doing in life, you're not going to expect it, but it's like innate has a way of bringing things to your table. And people have asked me, what's it like writing a book? I'm thinking about writing a book. And I said, well, what do you want to write about? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, then you're not writing a book. So then we get into the conversation, and I'll start asking some leading questions to people. And it all goes back to the time they were a kid and trials and tribulations they had, and now what they're doing in life. And basically they want their kids to avoid the same problems they had and, their future grandchildren. I said, well, writing a book ain't easy. It's work. I equate it to, I'm not a big fan of roller coasters. I'm a big boy, and I always wonder if I'm locked in all the way and if they tested this for people over 200 pounds, because all little people all around me. And, but my kids love going, and they love hearing me laugh out loud and scream on those things, so I do it for them. But getting online, you're usually distracted, but as I get closer, I get really focused on what's about to happen, and I'm not a fan of it. And then I lock into that seat, and I pull on to make sure I'm locked, and now there's no looking back. Once that baby starts to climb, I'm oh-shitting myself going, why'd I do this? And then you get to that very top and it hesitates, and then you drop straight down, and that's where the screaming and laughing out loud start. Whew. And then I'm usually laughing at the end of it and had a good time. That's what it's like writing a book, at least it was for me. When we started writing Wake Up Humans, it started, I probably had 2,500 pages of stuff, thoughts, ideas, things I wrote, talks I gave around the country, concepts. And the big challenge was, number one, who's going to ever read this? Why would anyone want to read this? Who am I? Who am I to give perspective and insight? And, so once you get over that bullshit, you finally say, okay, we're going to go through with this. Now you lock in. What's the message? What's my outcome? What am I looking for people to walk away from with these words? And you realize 2,500 pages of thoughts, you got to get them under 200 pages. 250 to be perfect, but under 200 is a quick, nice read. And this book ended up at 189. So how did that happen? It took a lot of thought. Working with the publisher on what's your outcome, asking me questions. You tell this story, why? Do we want to use that story or this story? Because that's going to pull together a chapter. And what's the outcome of that chapter? Because every word you print on that page is there forever. Forever. And if you leave out something that's great that could have been better, you're like, shit, maybe I should have chose that. And then if you have a life story about somebody and maybe they can relate to it when they read it and you don't want them to be hurt, maybe you twist the story around a little bit so you don't hurt their feelings, because they're thinking, well, he's telling my story. And that's not nice. It all comes together. But at the end of the day, what matters most is you just do it. You just do it. Because I believe every single one of us, especially all the good people out there, have a story of victory to share, a story of hope, something to give people strength and empower them. So I tell people a lot of times what I would do is I'd be out on my morning walk or workout, or if I was driving in my car, I could be out cutting the lawn and I would get an idea. And I would pull out my cell phone and put on the microphone, and I would speak into it to capture the moment. Because if I walked away from it and I said, I'll go inside and write that down later, it left my consciousness and I forgot it. You see, it'll bury itself back into your subconscious mind and come up to you at a later date. But in life, you always have to be prepared to capture the moment. I would carry a pen and paper in my pocket. I'd have my cell phone with the microphone geared up, ready to go. Then I could be out with my kids, watching a soccer game, have a conversation with somebody and go, that would be a great concept. And I would talk into it. And then later on, take the idea, sit down with a pen and paper. And I did it more on pen and paper than I did the computer, and write out the thoughts and ideas, and we would start to work through it. And then it was, what's the point of that? What's the outcome? Where is this all leading to? Wake Up Humans leads to one road. How's your atlas? If every man, woman, and child could understand what the atlas is and make an educated decision to say, I want to find a great chiropractor, to find out if I'm subluxated, if my children are subluxated, if my husband's subluxated, and we have a system of removing that subluxation to give our body a better fighting chance from the inside out to perform innately and connect to itself, I know we will have healthier families, healthier marriages, healthier children, better athletes, better scholars, and less humans relying on drugs and medications to get through life. That's the outcome. So you've got to share some physiology with it, the why, which is how the book starts, and then the shithole stories about Ronnie and how he lost everything and his mind and everything with one hit to his upper cervical area. The failure of a profession, the great profession of chiropractic, to have the self-esteem and motivation and passion for one human to step up and tell my family to go get adjusted. That's what this was all written through. And now this book has gone global. It's selling around the world. And it's moving people to go get under chiropractic care. People that I'll never meet in my life probably. I would love to meet everybody, but I get IMs and messages from people in England and Ireland and Spain that have read the book and now are going to a chiropractor. Or they're looking for help with a chiropractor, which is why we're setting up a network chain on our website, wakeuphumans.org, to help people find a chiropractor. So if you're a good principal chiropractor out there and you know what that means and you want to be on the site, just reach out to me and let me know, because we're going to start building this thing bigger and bigger, and now we've got the solid foundation for it. But it wasn't easy taking this 40 plus years of living and thoughts and education and shit I had to go through and putting it into under 200 pages and capturing a moment so the world could have access to it. And I think every single one of us has a story. And if it's not writing a book, it's talking to people, reaching out to people. If you're a doctor, telling the story and helping people and loving on them. Day in, day out, give, love, serve out of your own abundance without attachment to it. But if you want to go big and you want to sit down and do it, you lock into that roller coaster, baby, and you make it happen. If you need help, I'll give you the tools to do it, because if I could do it, anybody could do it, and the world needs it now.